Hello, Franklin County. I'm here with Richie Richardson from the clothing store Fab in Turners Falls. Um, but Richie is not in Turners Falls right now. He is in Trinidad. Welcome, Richie. The power of the
Thank
internet.
you. Thank you. The power of the internet. We can speak anywhere in the world.
I know.
Um, I'm happy that we are doing this because it gives me an opportunity to connect with my community back home in Turners and connect with my community home here as well in Trinidad. I'm a dual ambassador of the world. I live in the United States and I'm from Trinidad. So welcome to my space, and I'm happy to be here.
I wish you could take your show us around. We don't have time for that today. So that must be a really, when did you go? Did you go right after the pandemic? And how were you able to get there travel wise? And
I actually left before it was, I think, announced as a pandemic. I left on the 9th of February because I wanted to be here for Carnival. Trinidad Carnival is one of the three top carnivals in the world. So it's so important because when we talk about a creative economy, a creative industry, Carnival is at the epicenter of the creative economy in Trinidad. And it has many different branches that go right through the year. This is literally a land of festivals. I think any creative and I don't care where you're from, but any creative who lives in this economy can actually have their own enterprise because there are many opportunities that are sponsored by the government that allows you to plug in and become part of it, create revenue streams, employ people, and present your work, produce your work. I came at Carnival because I was part of that fraternity before I left, and I wanted not to participate, but more to observe and to see how things has evolved. Being away for a while, in a sense, I am listening a lot, and I talk a lot. So just imagine me listening a lot. I am listening a lot. I am asking a lot of questions. I'm learning a lot, and I'm relearning some things. But I'm also recognizing the vast amount of opportunities that exist that for myself as a creative and for Fab. So I came way before the pandemic. I was here before they were shutting off the borders. Carnival went ahead as normal as possible, and there was no set protocols at the time. And then the major melee happened in March. So I was already here. I was planning to return the middle of March, and
Trinidad has like the lowest, one of the lowest rates of the virus in the world, right?
well, absolutely, because when in March the government actually announced the closing of the borders, and and for those of us who were here, because I am also home, I decided I was just going to extend my time until the borders have reopened. But one of the cool things about being here, as I mentioned in our preamble, is that Trinidad has the lowest count of the coronaviruses in the world. And one of the things that's been happening, I don't know if you've read it anywhere, is that they're getting a lot of plaudits from many of the international community, including the World Health Organization, because it actually we've had the least amount of deaths, the least amount of infection rates, and it has been contained. And even though things are now, I would say, back to normal for the most part, except the ports, there has been no reconstitution of the virus. People are milling around, and there is no new resurgence that like we're seeing in other parts of the world. The government.
When you say things are back to normal, are people wearing masks still?
We are wearing masks. No, people are doing their social distancing and wearing masks and all of that. But when I say things are back to normal, the economy has reopened as of last month in phases, but now it is fully reopened. All businesses. Some businesses are now, the hours have been curtailed to some extent. And probably very much like the United States and Europe and other parts of the world, the people who go to the bars are the most challenging groups of people that they've had to deal with. These are the folks who will gather in numbers and sort of like disregard all of the social protocols that are in place. But so far, it has been good. We haven't seen a resurgence as yet. One of the reasons too is because when they put the protocols in place in March, they actually stopped all flights from the United States. They actually did that. And so there was no incursion of new people who might be coming in with the viral count. And so
Yeah.
that I think that made a huge difference.
Yeah. I want to talk a little bit later about, so you're also working on a cross-cultural project with Turner's Falls and Trinidad Tobago. So I'd love to talk a little bit more in the later part of this interview about that and
Sure, I'd be happy to.
that is.
Yeah,
But I'm glad you're well. I'm glad you're in one of the safest places in the world right now.
yeah.
I'm happy. You
Thank
look great.
you. Thank
Um,
you.
but what is happening back at your shop in Turner's right now?
So because I am here, um, in a sense, I was supposed to be back, as I said, in March. But if I was back in March, we would have been closed just like any other business.
Right.
Being here allowed me to continue the business of Fab because there are several things, several reasons for coming back home to the Caribbean. One was to set up a sister company of Fab here because we want to do Fab Caribbean. Um, we also want to establish new points of sales within this region. Um, and also to establish production. It's too costly for us to produce in the United States. We do not want to produce in places like China and India because even though it might be cheaper, we may be contributing to slave labor, which is something we are totally against. Because I had fashion, I started here as a fashion designer, and I know the production. I understand that this region well. I decided that it would be best to be here and set up what is called cottage production. So I now have a team of people who work from their homes. These are all professionals, and that will be the crew of people that will be producing Fab garments going forward. So being here has allowed me to sort of set all those things in place.
Mm-hmm.
If I had come back in March, I would have had to come back again. I would have had to return to put all of these things in place. So Fab is still very much alive. We are not closing the shop, just to let the world know. We are very much invested in Turner's Falls for all of the right reasons. We are part of the creative economy. We are part of the creative community. But I live in Turner's Falls. I invested in Turner's Falls for the long run, and we want to be a part of contributing to bringing a certain kind of fashion aesthetic that I don't see, that does not exist in New England, and that is a more diverse fashion aesthetic. That was one of the deliberate thought of mine when we determined that we were going to open a shop in Turner's. It was to bring the world of creative people and have that world and have New England by large, Turner's Falls, but New England in the larger context, discover how much creative integrity there is around the world that you don't normally see in fashion because fashion is very racist.
Hmm.
And although I am in it, but I can tell you that. So you either have to be in it as someone who is going to make a difference to bring people together, or you're going to learn the narrow constraints that you were taught in fashion school, where the face of fashion is white. That's the end of story.
Yeah.
I have an advantage because I come from one of the most diverse countries in the world. Cosmopolitan wise, Trinidad and Tobago is one of the most diverse country. It was created by the cedula when the Spanish ruled Trinidad. It's the population cedula that invited people from every region in the world. So it is unique in terms of how the Caribbean islands evolved. We evolved in that way, and then very early it was an agricultural agro-plantation industry, and then oil was discovered very early in the late 1800s that made Trinidad a wealthy port. So it has been the the like the mecca for the Caribbean region, like New York is for the rest of the world.
Hmm.
And so we are looking at all of these things from that point of view. We are looking at all of the things that we can take from this region to make us and keep us viable and sustainable.
Yeah.
We we we're aware that a lot has changed. I'm just learning from some of my contemporaries and turners that a series of shops have closed.
Yep.
That broke my heart. I mean, immensely, because it is a small town, and one shop closing is like 10% of the shops that close. That's and it is a huge impact, not because we have a great amount of traffic, but it is huge because we all know each other and we all rely upon each other. It is such a cohesive community,
Yeah.
and it's like losing a brother or a sister. And when you lose a family member, it pains.
Yeah.
And so we are hoping that we could be one of the stalwarts that stay and help encourage each other's new ones to come and join us, because we want to do Fashion Week next year again.
Hmm.
It hopefully we want to keep expanding our platform, and we want to keep integrating fashion and other creative elements into Turner's Falls. So that's where we are currently.
Yeah. How do you engage local designers in your work?
Say that again.
How do you engage local designers like here in Turner's into your shop and your work?
So we use social media a lot, and but we also do something else. We use people we know to talk to people they know. It's the neighborhood thing that we grew up with in my culture, where we talk to people who talk to people.
Hmm.
Word by mouth is one of the most powerful things. It's wonderful to have social media and do all of your promotionals, but when you have people talking about you, it's a sort of a first-hand account that carries a different kind of resonance. It's more believable because friends like what friends like. And so we are using a lot of that to inform people that what we are about is not just carrying my designs. I'm not interested in that. I love what I do, but I really love bringing people together as a hub, because what we are providing is a place where people can be promoted, be seen, and be sold. It is
Yep.
very important to us that we retain that and find the people who are emerging designers. And when I use the word emerging, I don't necessarily mean young and emerging. I mean emerging period, because there are people who have been creating for a
Yep.
lifetime. But these poor souls don't consider themselves designers because nobody ever told them that.
Hmm. Yeah.
We are interested in those people because some of these people have so much to give because they've been doing it for so long. I mean, they're incredibly creative,
Yeah.
and we don't want those. We want to show those people's work because they have developed their own style, their own cuts, their own silhouettes, and we want to become that is our intention, to become that space where when you walk into Fab, you will find a range of different designers that represents the um, local community and the world community.
Yeah. With the pandemic limiting people from going into shops and not really being able to try things on, how has that affected commerce for designers right now? How are they faring? How are they coping? What is the thinking around how this industry is going to emerge from this?
So one of the things that I'm been talking to a lot of designers here, and a lot of the people adapted really well. Many of the designers sort of moved a lot of their businesses online. And it doesn't offer the same facility as the in-person come to your shop, come to your studio and try something on.
Yeah.
But the marketplace, e-commerce is a world marketplace that we have been used to for the last 25 years now. So it's nothing new. It's just that a lot of designers like, because designers are artists essentially, and we like people. We enjoy more meeting people than probably selling to people, because the idea to engage is always a learning process for us. Um, but a lot of designers were able to take advantage of that. I also think that even though we have the social distancing element, I don't think for people who have very small shops, very tight spaces, or people who work from home, it might be a little more, they may have to practice, uh, uh, they may have to be more concerned because they're bringing people into their houses, their families live there. For
Yeah.
those of us who have commercial spaces, I think we will fare a little better, because you don't go into a dressing room with someone. You give them their clothing and they go and, they try it on. They look, they make a determination whether they like the cut, the fit, and the buy. So we would still be able to do the in-person service. And many of the designers that are operating in Trinidad are still doing a lot of the in-person services. I really feel out of this, and we don't know what this model is yet, but I really feel this is an opportunity. This is a really interesting moment that we are at. We don't quite know what will come out of this in terms of the new innovation that will help us, but I know that's already happening. And I feel all of us will benefit. I also feel that the small businesses and the small artisans and creative people, I think we are much more well positioned to survive. You see, we are not the big corporate structure that had 5,000 workers, where on a daily basis our income expenditure, our operation cost is in the hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars. We are one and two and three and four people employed. We operate on an entirely our principles are also different because we operate in economies that are more contributory to each other. Our
Yeah.
investment tends to be human capital more than any, and creative capital more than monetary capital, and because of that we have this cohesive way of existing and surviving. We've been doing that for quite a long time. So I really do feel that these small economies are the economies that will survive because the way it is, the way in which it is constructed.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, I would like to talk a little bit about the project that you started way before the pandemic of a cross-cultural exchange between Turners Falls and Trinidad Tobago. Um, with so much going on in the country around racism and not understanding other cultures, and um, it's like the root of it to me is that we just don't understand people and we haven't had the opportunity to really connect with cultures that aren't exactly like ours. So I feel so lucky that you are here and you've like made these inroads to make that happen. What How is that going? I'll bet it's kind of stalled right now because of COVID, but what are your plans for that? What have you been able to accomplish? And I really am very interested in seeing how this turns out.
It is ongoing. I am in layers, constant layers with the CG, Consul General. I'm also in layers with the government ministries here, and so that is ongoing. I really felt if
And
it
if you
wasn't
could
you,
explain a little bit about what it is.
sure. So in June of last year, we initiated an idea to twin Trinidad and Tobago with Turner's Falls. And the Consul General of Trinidad and Tobago visited Turner's and met with stakeholders. Of course, you were very present in that meeting, along with your president Diane. And he came away really impressed because I didn't know. I am impressed with Turner's, hence the reason I am there. And I am one of those Caribbeans who shout a lot wherever I am. So I'm always shouting and telling people, come and see where I am, and you will understand why I chose to be here. But when he came, he was impressed. And he came away feeling that this has all the seeds for making something happen. I, being an anchor in Turner's, also helped that process because it's not like he had to start from ground zero. I have been there, I work with the community in many different areas creatively, and he felt that that could be the basis for establishing. So the process of the formal process was already drawn up, and with Walter at the town council, town hall, that was already done, and then the letters of exchange to the mayor of the city of Port of Spain was done. The idea was for it to actually be initiated this year in summertime. It was supposed to be happening now. And we were, they would talk about a little ceremony, a celebration of coming together to make the grand announcement. All of this was in the pipeline. But the COVID has put a moratorium on it. So we know it will happen. Most likely it will come to fruition next year. Hopefully things would be the climate, including everything else, political, social, health, everything will be much more amenable to do it then. The good thing about the project though, the thing that I feel I love people. I grew up in a culture where we see people as our neighbors, as our family, as our friends. We don't see people in terms of the color of their skin and their social class. Because we live among these people as our neighbors. It is so different, as compared to the United States, where you have white, black, brown segmented because of things that were put in place intentionally or unintentionally by the founding fathers. So it's in the Constitution. Constitution is a Bible. If it is there, you have to believe it is right. For so long, American education has been misinformed by that whole structure. I feel that this is a wonderful opportunity for me and many of us to show America and to have America experience another culture firsthand. Because one of the reasons that we have so much racial tension is because, and you may not know this, Lisa, but every culture has had to study white culture. Every single culture. You probably never thought about this. Every single culture. White culture has had to study no one. So white culture, in their ignorance, really doesn't know anything about anyone else.
Interesting.
So they walk down the street and they don't look at anyone because they don't have to look at anyone. They were taught that everyone looks at me. Every culture was taught to genuflect to white culture. It's one of the um, terrible things about education. It's one of the terrible things about colonization. And America doesn't consider itself colonized, but America was colonized by Britain. And it is the very people who were running from that, that state of things, wanting their freedom, who upon arriving did exactly to the people, First Nation people, what they were running from.
Yeah.
Because what you learn is what you practice. And I feel in so many ways, I see myself as using the culture of fashion in particular and the culture of my life to help reach out and inform and bring people into that community and that space where we can work together, because at the core of it, at the bottom of it, I mean, at the core of all of this, when I speak to my friends of every stripe, the things we never disagree. It's so funny. We agree on most things, and I find very little difference among our the way we see things. Culturally speaking, we may all be grounded in a slightly different reality, but for the most part, we all sort of understand things at a fundamental level and want the same things for everyone. I have found that in my experience living in the United States. I find Turner's Falls in particular to be very rich in that whatever it is, that blessed element that exists there. And I think a lot of it comes from the First Nation people who bless that soil. And so all of us who are coming there are inheriting that. And those of us who are being drawn there are coming there because we feel that we understand that.
Yeah.
It is a special community, and I feel that way immensely. And the bigger picture of the cultural exchange and the twinning of Turner's Falls is to have Turner's Falls be one of those little parts of America that leads the world in culture, in the arts, in that creative spirit, and remind the world that these partnerships, these exchanges actually are the things that enriches us, are the things that makes us better.
Yeah.
We understand that on this side of the continent, and I think all people understand that. So in summary, it is going to happen. It is going to happen, and it is just a matter of time, and I feel the time will be next season. But it will be two twinning cities. This is the other thing that you probably didn't know. We initiated it when the idea. Oh, by the way, it was not my idea. I was not the author of this idea. It was Susan Lomanto who planted the seed.
Nice.
So this is important. She's the one who planted the seed and said, "Oh, you know, it would be great if when you meet with this, if you could think, if some, I can't remember how she put it. She said, but it would be just great if you can think about twinning Turners." And I presented it to the CG, and he loved the idea. So it was first seed.
Together. I love that.
That's again exactly.
What all about. Partnerships.
Right.
That's how things happen.
Precisely.
Yeah.
Precisely. That is the unifying element, I think, that makes things work. We cannot do it alone.
Yes.
It doesn't matter how great your ideas are. It doesn't matter how much money you have.
Right.
If you don't have people who want to work with you, first of all, and I think people have to like you. I really think the like thing is important.
Yeah.
I don't think if people don't like you, they may work with you because they're getting paid, but when people like you, they sort of feel themselves part of something.
Yeah.
And it's easier.
Yeah.
So,
and now that kind of camaraderie is so much more important considering everything happening in the
Oh
world.
my goodness.
I cherish that about our community, and I'm glad you're in the chamber family. And I really hope that we can continue to be part of the conversation with this exchange, because I think it's really important and really interesting, and it's just great for the community. So,
Thank you. Thank you very much. I mean, FAB is doing its part. Fashion Passion Fashion Week is about bringing the diversity of people to Turners. One of the things we're going to have next year, we're going to have, because I've been speaking with there's a huge fashion entity here, huge. And the government is very much involved, has sponsored that as part of one of its ministry. There's an entire ministry that is dedicated to fashion. And I was talking with the director, and what we are looking to do is to have Trinidad sponsor designers. And I'm going to be talking with the CARICOM minister. So the CARICOM is like the nation, is like the G8 nations for the developed world. The CARICOM nation are the 28 English-speaking Caribbean nations. Well, they've expanded it now, so they have Dominica and Haiti are involved. But these nations have so much to lend. But some of them, because of the currency exchange, it almost prohibits designers from traveling. So I'm laying the foundation so that the CARICOM region can sponsor designers from this region as well. Because we want to show that rich resource because fashion employs 60 million people, Lisa. It is a $3 trillion industry. The majority of people in fashion are ethnic people. But the face of fashion, close your eyes, go to any fashion, any magazine booth, close your eyes and pick up any amount of fashion magazines, and I guarantee you will see a white young girl on the cover. Open the first page, look at the contributors. How can you speak about something you don't know? It's only white folks. It's not only that they don't know, but what I think is startling is the way they have chosen to remain ignorant. This is not just about this moment. Vogue magazine has been around for 125 years. Harper's Bazaar has been around longer than they have been. Condé Nast, all of these people. If you look at the contents for 125 years, Vogue magazine had probably had, if 10 black faces on its covers, if it's 10, that's quite a lot. But I guarantee you that's rare. Vogue Japan puts a white face. It's almost a form of you feel it's like a sickness after a while. How can Vogue Japan not represent Japan?
Yeah. What strategies are you thinking about to address this? Like, what are you can do, or we can do?
I'm so glad you asked that. So some of the things that we are doing, and this is going to be part of our messaging strongly going forward, not only at FAB, but for Fashion Week. We are constantly looking at how you inform people, how you integrate people, because I'm in an industry that I feel I have a responsibility to. And so our mandate is to clearly present to the world that the face of fashion is a universal face. It's not one, it's everyone. And so the body types. I like to design for the slim silhouette, that's me. But I also have some women who are nice and shapely, and I want to design for them too.
Yeah.
I want them to feel that I am speaking to them, I'm sensitive to them, I see them. I want them to feel that I can make them look good. So I really think the messaging going forward, not only for myself, but for especially designers, ethnic designers, especially for us, I think we have to own that space and claim that space and shout to the world that we have been doing this for centuries. All of the influences that you see in European fashion comes out of Africa. All of it. All of it. But
Mm.
what tends to happen, the most exciting fashion right now is coming out of two places, the Caribbean and Africa. But you will never know that. If you go to Fashion Week, oh my goodness, you would think it's Donald Trump produced it.
Hmm. Yeah.
You know, it's so we are very conscious of that. We started off Fashion Passion in the first year with that call to bring to show the diversity, but to show the unification of it as well. You know, we are not going to do the things that we hate because we need to get even. It's a nonsensical kind of thing that easily happens to people out of victimization. I'm a first class citizen. I was born in a place where if you call me nigger, I will slap you. That I mean, if I think you insult me, I will put you away with words, and I can. And if you are ignorant, I will educate you because I could.
Yeah.
And I walk through life with that sort of confidence and with that sort of comfort zone. And that is what I want to remind, particularly Black designers and Black creative people, to present. You come from a mighty people, and you have been told that you were less. But that's someone who was suffering from their own stuff. You need to recognize that what you have contributed and what you continue to contribute is just as great and is just as important as anyone else because everyone else participates and benefits from it. So we have this particular moment provides. I sort of like the recalibration in a sense because I think the most inspiring thing about this moment, Lisa, is that for a long time, and I'm sorry to be talking so much about this, but for a long time, every time there was a concern with Black America, you would see a very few white folks come out and say something. Very few. This time, it's something shifted. Something remarkable shifted. It was a really powerful awakening moment where it was like the soul of America finally awoken to this sense that this is not who we are.
Mhm.
Nobody was preaching, nobody was pushing, it is the death of one man who became almost like a mystic because his death transcended everything. And when I look at the people out there now, it's not, there's no clear distinction anymore. You can't say, well, it's just a few Black folks, just a few white folks. It's people, it's America. But what is also much more enlightening to me, it is the generation that I am seeing. Because they're not taking that shit. They're the ones who grew up with their friends uh, as different, and that's their friend. They understand that. I really thought the generation of the 60s had changed a lot, but things change after that. But this particular generation, they have they have less tolerance for the indignity of treating people using hate as a sort of a mantra in the pretext of justice, in the pretext of social reforms, under the pretext that it is this is how the economy is structured. These people are clearly recognizing that their place in the world will be insecure at best if they were to continue the perpetuation of something that actually has been destroying the world and has been destroying the way we interact with each other. And I don't, when I, to see someone first for their race is a terrible injustice. You
Yes.
see someone as, I say namaste all the time. And the reason I use that word is because, and I use this meaningfully, it means the, the light in me sees the light in you. I see the best in people. And to tell me I must see people otherwise means that I am obeying a philosophy that is based on destroying each other. And so this new generation, this group of people, and combined with all of the different movements, the NACP, the Southern Legal Project, all of these people who are coming together, Black Lives Matter, the coalition of forces this time that are uniting peacefully in the Gandhian and Martin Luther King philosophy, peacefully, and saying not just that we want change, but we are going to push our politicians, we are going to push our local governments, we are going to push corporate America. I mean, it is happening in such a way that it is refreshing.
Yeah.
So we are seeing something that took 400 years, unfortunately, but I would say finally white America has now been educated. It took 400 years,
Mhm.
but thankfully we're ready.
Yes.
So it's a good time.
Having these kinds of conversations on the local level that we just have to keep doing also to like
Yeah,
it rippling out.
I agree.
And so thank you so much for enlightening us about the cultural changes and your experience in two places, and just like involving us in the conversation. So I look forward to more discussion about this and more being involved in more initiatives that you come up with. Um, we have been talking to Richie Richardson from Fab, which is a boutique, a clothing boutique in Turners Falls, and he is speaking to us from his native Trinidad, where he also works. So thank you so much, Richie. Is there anything else you want to say? Maybe is there contact information that you would like to put out there? I could always put it in below the video.
Um, just a highlight, just to bring you up to date. So I'm working on some new collections, um, and I am going to be doing a shoot. It's coming up soon, and I'm going to be putting it out on social media. Um, and most likely, I will be back sometime in, I think, late summer, because I need to finish what I'm doing here so that we could come back and do what we're doing there. But thank you very much for offering me this opportunity to reconnect with my community and talk and share and see a wonderful face.
Thank you. All right. Well, let's talk soon. I'll see you online.
Thank you.
Okay.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Namaste.